What's up, guys? Welcome back to another edition of the Leadoff Show. This is April 5th. We have a 9-game day slate today. The lock is 12:05 Central for me, so 1:05 Eastern. So make sure you go ahead and reserve those contests, even if you haven't started building your teams yet. But I had kind of a weird slate last night. The chalk definitely busted there with Toronto and St. Louis. I was on Houston, which also busted. Really, I guess you had to have the Rays last night to do well. I know I was right on the cash line, even with kind of a bad lineup, just because the pitchers I played, Framber and Castillo, did well. I know Scherzer got hit up pretty good by the Brewers, so not my best slate, but looking forward to today. I always do love day slates, so we should have a good one. Real quick, we can get started taking a look at the weather. Roth just put out an update. Looks like Cubs Reds could see rain at the end of the game, but I don't think we're really looking at pitchers there anyway, so that's not really a concern. And I don't even know if I'm going with hitters there. So, but just keep that in mind. The game might end a later ending storm, but with the new pitch clock, he says he thinks they can get it in time. Spotty rain in New York, bump to pitchers. Winds out in Washington, bump to hitters. Winds out in St. Louis. Boston, poor baseball weather. So I think that's probably a bump to pitchers. And then for the Giants White Sox, brief late start, very windy. We'll just have to see, I guess, what direction that wind is going tonight. Let's go ahead and get started here on this slate. We have 9 games, like I said. I'm going to sort it. Here we go. All right, so first game is Phillies Yankees. We should be getting a lot more of the aces back around today, so it's going to be really splitting hairs on some of these aces. We have maybe 5-6 aces to pick from, so really just going to have to pay attention to who's in the better spot, maybe what's even a good price that we need to fit in the hitters that we want, and go from there. So the Phillies 2.95 total against the Yankees, 3.55 total. We got Aaron Nola against Garrett Cole. Aaron Nola, 7.7K. He just had a rough start against the Rangers, but I'm not too worried about that. I mean, that price, with respect to the other aces, that price is very low for him. So I don't feel like he'll carry a lot of ownership after he got lit up in his first start, but I might be going right back there. The Yankees obviously have plenty of power, but they also have plenty of strikeouts as well. So if you need something around that 7.7 price, that might be a good spot. Let me go ahead and check it out real quick. I guess also too the Reds game Cubs Reds isn't even on the slate. So yeah, definitely don't worry about the weather there. Okay. Let's look real quick at this Yankees strikeout rate, because I do have some interest in Nola. Yeah, like I thought, the bottom of the order definitely carries a lot of strikeout rates, or high strikeouts. So I would be interested there. It's one of those things, if you have money to spend up on someone maybe we have a little bit more confidence in that we'll get to later, you can. But if not, if you end up around that 7.7K, I wouldn't worry about that with Nola. We know what he's capable of. He just had one bad start, and we're willing to forgive that. Cole on the other side will probably be the highest on projected pitcher and the highest owned pitcher on the slate. Just absolutely dominated the Giants in his first start. At this point, I mean, he'll probably go, or he's free to go 100, maybe 105 pitches if he's pitching well. This Phillies lineup has a couple power bats, like Schwarber, that might be able to pop one or something. But I mean, do we really see the Phillies really getting to Cole, for 2+ runs or something? I just don't see it. So with this friendly pitcher weather as well, I think Cole is rightfully the top projected pitcher on the slate. So if that's where you end up, then I wouldn't worry about it too much. It's probably a right call. Hitters, though, I'm out on both sides. I mean, Schwarber's just too expensive to even try to chase the home run. I know he had one last night, and he's definitely capable of taking Cole deep, but it's not worth it in my mind to try to hit that perfectly against Cole. These Yankees, maybe on another day, but with this pitcher weather, I don't really see it. There's a reason this total is so low, so I don't really have any interest in the Yankees either. All right, moving forward, Rays Nationals is probably going to be One of the top stacks of the day, we have a 8 over and under, 5.06 for the Rays, 2.94 for the Nats. Shane McClanahan versus Patrick Corbin. McClanahan's obviously a great pitcher, so he's going to be in the mix of the aces that we're considering. The only thing with him is, the Rays, how they treat pitch count. McClanahan's really going to have to be dealing to get for them to let him come back into the 7th. So, I mean, on a normal slate, 6 innings of McClanahan against the Nationals would be incredible. But, I mean, we're splitting hairs here with some of these guys that we're going to have on this slate tonight. So, in this weather, 83 degrees, 13-mile-an-hour wind blowing out, I'd put McClanahan on that, second tier of pitchers I'm considering. You can never really cross him off just right away, but I kind of have him on that second tier compared to Cole and some of these other guys we'll get to later. Patrick Corbin, though, definitely not playing him. Maybe one day, but again, today is not that day. Just like opening day, we faded him. So these Rays hitters are going to be the highest on stack of the day for good reason too. I mean, it's Patrick Corbin. They've been on fire. Just look at all these righties. I'll have a lineup of all righties with the 2 switch hitters. So highest on stack of the day for good reason. We can kind of play by IQ, see if anything stands out specifically for any of the hitters. There probably is some pitch hitting concern though with the bottom half of this order. The Rays like to pinch hit, them and the Giants just about more than anyone in the league. So I can see Harold Ramirez getting pinch hit forward later in the game for a lefty, maybe Paredes. So just kind of keep that in mind. But at that point, you're kind of banking on they've done so much damage to Corbin that it doesn't really matter. Paredes' ISO is just really jumping off the page here. Same with the Rosarania. We know what he can do. Franco, not as good of a hitter from the right side, but I mean, still a stud. And then Diaz has been off to a great start. So I kind of definitely like the Rays for good reason today. If you do play the Rays, like we've talked about before, maybe just try to get different. Maybe mix in some of these guys like Manny Margot or Siri, and I would put the catcher in there. Then just kind of go from there. Maybe if you do play the Rays, maybe you have to pivot off Cole or something like that to one of these other aces with a lot of upside. And out on the Nats, even with this weather, I'm not really wanting to stack against McClanahan. Maybe Elaine Thomas one off. He can kind of do everything. Power and speed, maybe, but wouldn't be too thrilled about going there. But he'd be the only one of the Nats I'd even consider. All right, moving forward, Twins, Marlins. We got 3.5 total for the Twins, 3.5 total for the Marlins. Pablo Lopez, 7.4K in his return to Miami against Luzardo, 7.9K. Both of these guys are interesting to me. We both know they're pretty good pitchers. Pablo had a great opening day start against the Royals. Luzardo has great strikeout upside, but just one of those things. I mean, the pitchers on the slate, it's almost you don't even really have to go here. I mean, the prices, I guess Luzardo's more expensive than Nola, so I would probably be out on Luzardo. And then maybe if you end up around 7.4K and you need a pitcher, I'd be okay going to Pablo. The Marlins lineup does not scare me at all. Let me kind of check real quick. Pablo did look good in his opening day start, and then he's somebody that has definitely shown plenty of upside before, especially with his time in Miami. Yeah, you can see the ISO numbers there. Top of the order against lefties are huge for the Twins. Yeah, I'm probably out on Luzardo. Pablo, on the other hand, I'm really just Chisholm is kind of the only guy that scares you. Yeah, strikeout rates are kind of low though, just for the Marlins all around, and Pablo's kind of middle of the road strikeout pitcher. So, like I said, if you end up around 7.4K, I'd be okay with Pablo, but he's not going to be one of the guys I'm super high on today. The Twins though, taking righties against Luzardo, I definitely would like that. We just saw the top of that order had some massive power numbers. I could see maybe grabbing a couple there. Again, it's just one of these things where it's Miami. I'm not really going to ever full stack a game in Miami. I guess you can check, see if the roof's open. That would change it a little bit. I can check real quick and see if that's been updated. But I'm not really gonna ever stack a game in Miami unless there's just an absolutely terrible pitcher, and Luzardo doesn't really fit that. So maybe just a couple one-offs here and there, and then yeah, a lot of righties. So you might see some lefties pinch hit here at some point, but I think the top of the order is probably safe from that. On the Marlins side, it'd really just be Chisholm, but that 5.6K is kind of rough. He's no longer second base eligible. He's outfield eligible only, so I'm probably out there. Let's see. Looks like the roof will be open in Miami, but still a big park. So I could, yeah, maybe one of these top 4 guys or 2 of the top 4 guys for the Twins, but that's probably all I'm going for in this game. All right, moving forward, Braves Cardinals, 4.1 total for the Braves, 4.4 total for the Cardinals. We got Bryce Elder, 6.9K versus Michaelis, 7.1K. A little bit cooled off compared to what we've seen the last couple of days. We've seen 80 plus degrees in St. Louis, but still 17-mile-an-hour wind blowing out. So definitely a bump to bats. With that being said, with that weather and these 2 offenses, I am definitely out on these pitchers. Bryce Elder showed some upside last year, but he's kind of more of a good real life pitcher than he is a fantasy pitcher. He's not going to go out there and get a lot of strikeouts. And Michaelis is terrible. He can't strike anyone out, and he can't really get anyone out either. So definitely not taking him against this Braves lineup. The Braves, on the other hand, as a stack, I would definitely have interest in. The prices just are a little steep, I guess, is the only concern. If you try to get a lot of the guys at the top of this order, it's hard to stack the Braves without Acuna and Olsen, so you really might have to wrap around and grab some of these guys at the bottom. Garcia's look good. You can get the platoon split with Rosario, and then I like mixing in the catcher. And then I would even that price for Michael Harris is nice as well. He's been off to kind of a slow start this year, but I wouldn't expect that to continue. So let me just pull up Michaelis's plate IQ real quick, and we can maybe find a few Braves here and there that we like. See, a very low strikeout rate for Michaelis. You can see some top of the order here has elite power numbers versus righties. Michaelis is pretty even lefty versus righties. So actually a little bit lower strikeout rate versus righties. So really, I'd say any and all the Braves are in play. It's just a matter if you can afford them. Kind of interesting construction, really, if you try to get 5 stacks with these aces, because we'll get to it. But once you if you end up with 2 aces, then you might have to have more of a lower on stack. So you might end up with just 1 or 2 of these Braves in your lineup. Cardinals, also, I wouldn't mind grabbing a couple guys. These young lefties, Donovan, Burleson, Gorman, they've been off to a hot start, so I really wouldn't mind going there against Elder. We can check Elder splits against if he's one side is a little bit worse, righty or lefties. Yeah, he gets hit pretty hard by lefties, so that'd kind of be my preference. But of course, the righties are insanely good with Goldschmidt, Arenado, and Contreras. So as a full stack, I'm probably a little lower on the Cardinals, but the lefties here have interest. Maybe as a secondary stack, I could see the Cardinals. Yeah, just looking at it though, some of these sub 3K hitters might help you kind of get 2 aces. So mess around with it. If you end up on the Cardinals, I definitely would not fault you. They're such a great offense that they can really get to anybody. So, all right, moving forward, we got Pirates, Red Sox. 3.86 total for the Pirates, 4.64 total for the Red Sox. Cold, wind blowing in, so definitely a bump to the pitchers here. We do have Keller and Corey Kluber, though, 2 pitchers I would not be excited to play, especially on this slate. I just don't think there's any reason to go there. We saw they're not. Pablo Lopez isn't too much more expensive. Aaron Nola's not too much more expensive, so there's no reason to play these guys on this slate. Looking forward to the Pirates hitters. Kluber got rocked his opening day start, and he's complaining about, I don't know if it was pitch clock or what, but he just talked about being gassed. So I might see that with some of these older pitchers. I know Carlos Carrasco came out and blamed the pitch clock too for getting lit up by the Brewers. He just said he just got tired real quick, and we might start seeing that more often this year. So keep an eye on these old pitchers, and maybe that's something that we can attack. But in this weather, I just don't think it's worth it. These Pirates have been pretty great to start the season, but it's just in the 41-degree, 13-mile-an-hour wind blowing in. I just really don't think it's worth it. I could see maybe going. I mean, Reynolds is super hot right now, so maybe Reynolds. He's hitting everything he sees, but I just don't see a full stack for Pittsburgh. For the Boston though, Michaelis is definitely a pitcher we can attack, but still just the weather gives me a little bit of concern, so maybe just a slight knockdown. But I mean, they do have some great lefties on this Red Sox team: Verdugo, Devers, Yoshida, Casas, and then you can put in Duvall or add the catcher in McGuire. So maybe have the Red Sox as like a second tier team for you. But I don't know, they're kind of all in the. I think all these four teams in my mind are kind of in the same ballpark as I could get to a secondary, or I could get to a 5-man stack if the price worked out with my pitchers, and it just kind of the lineup just kind of went together. But I'm really not going to be seeking out a 5-man stack from these teams. But would not fault anyone for doing that, or I'll probably have these teams still in my player pool and potentially end up with a few guys as a secondary stack. Our moving forward, we got Mets Brewers, 7.5 total, 3.48 for the Mets, 4.02 for the Brewers. David Peterson, 7.2K versus Corbin Burns, 8.6K. This Brewers team has had put up a ton of runs the last 2 days. They took care of Max Scherzer last night. I'm probably out on Peterson. I just don't really have any interest attacking the Brewers with a lefty, especially on this slate. We have so many good pitchers, so probably out there. I'd probably just rather go Pablo if I was in this price range. Burns, on the other hand, he had a terrible start by his standards against the Cubs. I think he had 3 walks, maybe a strikeout or 2, very low strikeouts. So that definitely gives me concern. I don't know if something's going on with them or what, but I mean, I'm one of those guys. I'll play Burns every slate no matter what. So seeing him at 8.6K is definitely enticing. But I just think against this Mets lineup, kind of a low strikeout rate. They have guys like Nimmo, Marte, McNeil that really grind out at bats and can get the pitch count up. So Burns being in that same price range as McClanahan will probably carry maybe half the ownership, but that's probably where it should be, is in my mind. So if you need a pivot off Cole or McClanahan to someone lower owned because you're playing the Rays hitters or something like that, Burns is certainly capable of going out there and putting up 30 plus, but probably a little bit lower on him today because of that. So looking towards the hitters, the Mets, I'm definitely out on. I'm not, no matter what kind of state Burns is in, I'm not taking hitters against him. So even there's not really any lefty I would attack or I would use to attack him. So out on the Mets. The Brewers are definitely interesting, especially if this is their lineup. We see some really cheap righties in there. Brasso 2.2K, Voit 2.9K. Anderson's been smoking hot the last few days. I think he's had 3 home runs the last 2 days. So I really like that. So I do like the full Brewer stack here. Especially in Milwaukee. I like playing I like playing day games in Milwaukee. They just always seem to pop off. So wouldn't mind a full Brewer stack here. But the prices too, I guess, really help to make it possible to get to 2 aces. So I wouldn't mind that. That'd be a team I definitely play around with and see if you can find something that works. So, all right, moving forward, we got the Orioles, Rangers, 3.1 total for the Orioles, 4.4 total for the Rangers. Grayson Rodriguez, 4K. Against Jacob deGrom, 9.5K. Looks like Grayson Rodriguez is going to get the start. There's a lot of talk about him. He's one of the Orioles' top prospects, but he had a terrible spring. So they actually started him at AAA, and from what I heard, I think he had a terrible AAA start. But at the end of the day, he's the top prospect and he's 4K. And we won't get 4K pitchers very often that we actually consider playing. So it's one of those things, if there's two stud teams that you want to pay up for and you just want to hold your breath that Grayson Rodriguez can get through 5 innings with, less than 2 runs and 5 Ks, then go for it. But I would have a little bit of concern there. I would want to, if we can find any information on a pitch count or anything like that. I wouldn't think so. I mean, he had a full spring and then he had a AAA start. So, I mean, I would think he's around 85, 90 pitches, which is really all you can ask for. for a 4K pitcher. So it's risky. It's definitely risky. But I would keep him in the player pool, and if you end up needing a pitcher at 4K and that's where you want to go, then I don't mind it. DeGrom on the other side, 9.5K. He had a rough start versus the Phillies to start the season, but at the end of the day, he's Jacob DeGrom, and the only thing that I really care about since last start is his velocity was fine, and his pitch count is only going to increase because he's still healthy. So that's all I care about. DeGrom is absolutely incredible. So really, I think you're going to be deciding between him or Cole as your SP1, and DeGrom should come in with less ownership because of, I guess, a little bit of a tougher matchup, but also just the perception of him coming off that poor outing. So I definitely like DeGrom here. The Orioles, I'm going to be out on. Just no chance taking a guy against DeGrom. No one's interesting at all. Mullins at 5.7K. Even with the stolen base upside, it's not worth it there. The Rangers definitely are interesting. I mean, especially if Rodriguez ends up carrying some ownership, then I could see us taking the Rangers just as a straight leverage play against the cheap pitcher. Pull it up. I will say, for my strategy specifically in like single entry, I really don't go to the cheap pitcher very much. Of course, this is kind of a unique scenario where we get somebody at such a good pitcher at low price, but I tend to stay towards the top range of the pitching pool. I probably won't go to Grayson Rodriguez, but like I said, especially if you're doing MMA and you want to double stack the Braves and the Rays or something, and you need a cheap pitcher, I could see you going to Grayson Rodriguez. But yeah, this is a tough Rangers lineup. Decent amount of Ks in the back half, but we know at the top of this order is capable of. Jung has been off to a good start this year. So Rangers, if you want a straight leverage play, if you start watching shows later and all you hear is, I'm all in on Grayson Rodriguez at this price and stuff like that, I wouldn't mind a Ranger or two in my lineup, but full stack I'm probably off. All right, got 2 games left. Next one's Giants White Sox, 7.5 total, 3.54 total for the Giants, 3.96 for the White Sox. We got Logan Webb versus Dylan Cease. We saw Logan Webb just pull strikeout total out of nowhere against the Yankees in his first start. I know I was making fun of him. Then he went out there and had like 12 Ks or maybe even more than that against the Yankees. So he might garner a little bit of ownership today because of that hot start he was off of. But I'm probably out here. I'd rather just go to Nola or even Pablo Lopez at that price. So not a lot of interest there with Webb. And then this weather too. We got to kind of keep check on this. If this might potentially be good hitters weather if with this 28-mile-an-hour wind blowing to left field. So maybe a bump to the righties at least. I'm probably out on Webb. For Cease though, I think he's right there in the mix. I'd have him a tier down from Colin DeGrom, but also his price is a little bit lower, so I think he's appropriately priced. He had a great start against the Astros too to start the season, and Cease was had that crazy run last year where he wasn't giving up any runs, and we know what he's capable of strikeout wise. The Giants though, however, they are really good at platooning an entire team against you. They just have so many lefties on the bench that they can really line up against you. All right, let's go ahead and finish up. Sorry about that. I think I just realized I was not sharing my screen the whole time, so that is lovely. I might be canceling the entire show. So, alrighty. Out on Webb. Sorry, I'm really just trying to get through to see if I had my stream up the whole time. If I did, then I'll publish this, no problem. If not, then we will not have a show today. So, all right. Cease, lower tier. Giants, White Sox probably out on both pitchers or both hitters, or just the hitters are too good. This Tigers Astros game, Rodriguez, not taking him against the Astros. Javier is definitely in a great spot. We've played Astros pitchers the last several days, and there's no reason not to go back here. Javier has huge strikeout upside. I'd expect that to continue here against the Tigers. For his price too, he's one of my favorite pitchers on the slate. So wouldn't mind going back there at all against the Tigers here. So we kind of have some top tier pitchers: Cole, DeGrom, maybe Cease. Probably prefer Cole or DeGrom. Middle of the road pitchers, I'd say Nola, Javier Lopez, and then if you really need a cheap guy, go down to Grayson Rodriguez. For hitters, I think most of the ownership will go toward the Rays, kind of second tier hitters. I'd say all 4 of these teams, Braves, Cardinals, is where I would mainly look, but Pirates, Red Sox might kind of carry some ownership as well. And then you have the Astros against Eduardo Rodriguez. So, all right, thanks everybody. Hope you had a good day, have a good day, and I'll see you at the top.